It's the fourth day since I was hospitalized after a car accident. My daughter, Karen, visits me almost every day after school. Hey, Karen, did you tell your dad about me?
Yeah, I told him. Hasn't he come to see you yet?
Despite his wife being in the hospital, my husband Matt hasn't visited me even once. I felt a bit sad about his indifference. 2 days later, it was when Karen came to visit me during her school break.
How awful. You had an accident, didn't you?
Suddenly, my best friend Julia walked into the hospital room. But I hadn't told Julia about the accident, so how did she know? Oh, you came with him. Matt peeked from behind Julia.
I need to talk to you.
Without any concern for my well-being, Matt continued with his own story.
I'm marrying Julia. So, let's get divorced.
He announced it loudly enough for everyone in the room to hear. What? What did you say?
I said, I love Julia. We're getting married, so you need to leave with Karen.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing and asked again, but I still couldn't grasp the suddenness of it all. Julia, what's going on?
It means exactly what it sounds like. I love Matt. Can you let me have him?
Julia's expression was serious. Can such a selfish thing really happen? Ignoring the two fervent visitors, my daughter burst into laughter.
Hey, you two can't get married. Because.
What Karen said next was unexpected. I'm Lydia Owens. In between work and house chores, I enjoy watching a bit of complicated romantic TV series. Wow, no way. Is this where it ends? Every time the TV series takes a turn, I find myself talking to the screen, even though I'm watching alone. I live with my husband and our daughter, and we have a good relationship with my in-laws who live nearby. We have a harmonious relationship. Unlike the dramatic stories I watch, my life is ordinary and uneventful. Because my daily life doesn't change much, I sometimes wish to dive into the TV series world. My husband Matt is very cheerful and better at sports than studying. He's truly a presence akin to a mood maker. Since he loves being lively and fun, he was always surrounded by people when he was younger. To someone like me, who was relatively quiet and studious, he seemed like a dazzling presence, and I was attracted to him. However, I've come to realize that it's hard to change the beliefs formed in youth. When young, it was very attractive, but now in our 40s, it's a bit problematic that nothing has changed. What I once admired about him has now become a point of worry. Recently, the relationship between Matt and our daughter Karen has been a source of concern. Karen prefers quiet activities over hanging out with friends. She doesn't dress flashy and excels in her studies, always ranking among the top in her high school. Matt, who hated studying more than anything, couldn't understand Karen, who diligently hit the books. It would be fine if he just thought that way, but he couldn't help imposing his views on her.
You're always holed up in your room studying, but a girl doesn't need to study to get by. If you have time to waste on studying, why not work on being more charming?
He would say things like this loudly enough for Karen to hear while she was trying to study.
Dad, not many people think that way anymore. If I don't study, I can't do the job I want. Whether I study or not is my choice, so let me be.
Despite Karen's objections, Matt always had something to say when he saw her studying. Hey Matt, Could you stop interrupting Karen when she's trying to study? It's great that she's so dedicated.
I didn't need to study to make friends or get a job. Playing with friends is more fun, and you'll have no regrets.
Matt was so wrapped up in his own past joys that he wouldn't listen to reason. Karen was getting fed up with how often Matt would intrude.
Mom, how long is Dad going to keep saying those things? I can't concentrate even when I want to study.
I'm sorry. I keep telling him not to bother you while you're studying. No matter how many times I tell him studying is important, he won't listen. As a result, Matt and Karen clashed more often, and I had to play mediator each time. Matt's impositions didn't stop with Karen herself.
Can you believe it? Karen is trying to go to college. A girl like her doesn't need to study.
Even in front of his own parents, Matt stuck to his outdated views and couldn't stop complaining about Karen.
Stop saying things like that just because she's a girl. Nowadays, it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy.
Before you criticize others, maybe you should go back and study yourself.
His parents, Robert and Emily, couldn't stand seeing their granddaughter put down and reprimanded Matt for his behavior. When even his parents criticized his views, Matt would sulk.
Why is everyone against me?
On the days when Robert and Emily scolded him, his complaints would worsen, and he'd stop talking to Karen and me for a while. One day, on my way back from shopping, something happened.
Hey, is that you, Lydia? It's been so long. Do you remember me?
Julia, do you live around here now? The person who called out to me was my best friend, Julia, who had moved out of state after middle school graduation. Julia was always knowledgeable about fashion, makeup, and nails, and I secretly admired her. She was the complete opposite of me, who could only study, but we somehow got along and spent a lot of time together. In exchange for teaching me about fashion, I often helped Julia, who struggled with schoolwork, study for tests. After she moved, we kept in touch through letters for a while. But as we both got busier with friends, the letters became less frequent. We had become quite distant, so it was a really long-awaited reunion.
So, I got married and had a kid over there, but a lot happened, and now I'm back here.
Oh, I see. That must have been tough.
Yeah, my husband cheated on me. Oh, by the way, can I come over to your place sometime? I'd love to catch up.
Of course, come over. I'd love to chat. And so Julia and I reconnected, and our families started to interact. Matt and Julia, having similar personalities, got along well and quickly became close. Whenever Julia visited, they would have lively conversations, as if they had always been friends. Julia's daughter was around the same age as Karen, and, like Julia, was very fashion conscious. Every time Julia and her daughter came over, Karen would try to be friendly, but they didn't seem to get along well.
She told me, "It's unbelievable that you're not into fashion or dating." And she said my face and clothes are plain. She's a bit younger than me, but she makes me feel looked down on.
Karen seemed frustrated and would quietly vent to me after they left. Everyone's different, so it doesn't matter what you do. Don't worry about it. I think you're great just the way you are. I tried to comfort her, but Julia's daughter kept bothering Karen every time they met. A while after reconnecting with Julia, the distance between Matt and Julia had noticeably shortened. Julia's daughter was very attached to Matt, and Matt seemed to enjoy it too.
Julia's having trouble with a light not working in her house. I'll go check it out this weekend. It must be tough for her as a single mom. I should help her out whenever I can.
Matt, feeling sorry for her single-parent situation, started going over to Julia's house to help out more often. Julia didn't show any hesitation in accepting his help.
Really, Matt can do anything, and he's so reliable and quick. I'll keep asking for his help.
Julia praised and flattered Matt right in front of me. Matt, enjoying the attention, wasn't entirely displeased. As a result, Matt started mentioning Julia more often and became more engrossed in her. Julia, who used to come over frequently, started visiting less often, while Matt began spending more time away from home.
Dad, don't you think you're going over to Julia's too much lately?
Does she really need that much help? I don't think Julia is completely helpless.
Single mothers have a lot on their plate. If I don't help her, who will?
Both Karen and I were growing increasingly frustrated with Matt, who seemed more concerned with Julia's household than our own. I subtly mentioned our dissatisfaction to Matt, but he didn't change his behavior at all. When he went to Julia's house 3 days in a row, Karen and I couldn't just let it slide. Can you focus a bit more on our family? Julia is just a friend after all.
Dad, I really don't understand what you're thinking.
Matt sighed and said,
I wish Julia and her daughter were my real family instead of being stuck with such dull people.
I never expected to hear such words. I was too stunned to respond. My love for Matt started to fade away. After this incident, our home life grew colder. Conversations between Matt and me became minimal, just the bare necessities. Matt and Karen seemed more distant than ever. It was inevitable. As long as we could live comfortably, that was enough. With that thought, I went out shopping. When I finished and was riding my bike home, there was a sudden loud impact and the sound of brakes. When I came to, I was lying on the ground. There was a lot of commotion around me. I opened my eyes slowly, trying to understand what had happened. My bike was thrown far away, and my groceries were scattered. Oh, I was in an accident. Right after that thought, pain shot through my entire body. I could hear the ambulance sirens in the distance. Enduring the pain, I waited for the ambulance to get closer. Even during the ride to the hospital, the pain made me drift in and out of consciousness. By the time the treatment was finished and I was in my hospital room, Karen had rushed over.
Mom, are you okay?
Oh, Karen, I'm sorry for worrying you. They said I'll have to stay here for a while. I had broken my right leg in the accident.
I'm just glad you're alive. I was so worried. I hope you get well soon.
I felt bad for making Karen worry. I didn't remember much about the accident, but I was truly grateful to be alive. For now, I'll focus on getting better quickly. And so my hospital stay began. On the 4th day of my hospitalization, Karen visited me almost every day after school. However, Matt hadn't come even once. I think he knows I was in an accident and that I'm in the hospital with a broken leg. Maybe Karen didn't tell him because she didn't want to talk to him. Hey, Karen, did you tell your dad about me?
Yeah, I told him. Hasn't he come to see you yet?
No, not even once. But it's okay if you told him. The hospital should have contacted him too.
Dad should at least visit you.
We barely talked at home, but still, as his wife in the hospital, he should at least visit. I felt a bit sad about Matt's indifference. 2 days later, when Karen was visiting me during her school break,
Lydia, how awful. You had an accident, didn't you?
for some reason, Julia, who shouldn't have known, walked into the hospital room. While I was wondering how she knew, Matt quietly appeared behind her. So he finally came to visit, but with Julia. He must be using my hospitalization as an excuse to spend all his time with her. I didn't expect any concern from him, but I didn't think he'd bring Julia along. Oh, Julia, you came together. Then, Matt, who had been silent, spoke up.
Lydia, I need to talk to you.
Without any concern for me, Matt continued.
I'm going to marry Julia. So, let's get divorced.
Karen and I looked at each other, puzzled. What? What did you say? I thought I misheard him, so I asked again.
I said, I love Julia. We're getting married, so you need to leave with Karen.
I couldn't understand what he was saying at all. It was like a scene from one of the TV series I always watch. I realized talking to an excited Matt wouldn't get me anywhere, so I turned to Julia. Julia, what is this about?
It means exactly what it sounds like. I love Matt. I need him. You two aren't close anymore, right? Can't you just let me have him?
Julia's expression was serious. Can something so selfish even happen? Of all people, my husband, a true friend, wouldn't do this.
You're the only one who thinks you're friends.
What? What do you mean?
Right, Julia?
After Matt called out, Julia began to speak.
Lydia, you've always been plain. You never matched my level of style. But you were smart, so I stuck around because it was convenient. Those tests back then, you really helped me out.
Julia saw me only as someone useful, and I was the only one who thought we were friends. Feeling good about belittling me, Julia continued.
Matt and I get along well, and he seems happier with me. I think I'm more suited for him.
With a smirk, Julia whispered in my ear.
And besides, he doesn't seem to have any money problems, you know.
Julia was dazzled by Matt's good salary, pretending to be in need to start an affair with him. She planned to kick Karen and me out and take my place. Matt, completely taken in by her, genuinely fell for Julia. Now that I was conveniently hospitalized, they wanted to finalize the divorce while I was unable to act. Their reckless behavior made me want to sigh. I never imagined something like this would happen to me, like a scene from a TV series. Matt and Julia waited triumphantly for my surrender, while I was troubled by the two excited individuals. Karen, who had been silent until now, started laughing.
Hey, you two can't get married. Dad, don't you know?
What Karen said next was unexpected.
Julia, you're in the middle of a divorce because you cheated, and you're being asked for a hefty alimony.
When we reconnected, Julia had said her husband cheated on her, but that was a complete lie. It turns out Julia was the one who cheated and was asked to leave, leading to divorce proceedings. During the divorce, she was looking for her next financial support and found the perfect target in Matt. Julia planned to get divorced once she secured Matt's promise to marry her and waited for the 6 months until they could remarry. Moreover, she planned to control the household finances after remarrying to cover the alimony for her husband and her affair partner's wife with Matt's money.
That's not true. I really love Matt.
Julia shouted. Still, Karen continued unfazed.
Well, Julia's daughter told me everything. She talked about a lot of things. Well, in the end, my mom and I were mocked as if we were disposable.
Karen had somehow sensed the relationship between Matt and Julia. Predicting it would come to this, she used Julia's daughter to dig up any dirt she could. Julia's daughter looked down on Karen, so when Karen mentioned the potential divorce between Matt and me, she spilled all the family secrets to assert her superiority. Thanks to this, Karen learned about Julia's plan and was ready for trying to make it a trump card for when the time came. Her ability to calmly assess situations and gather information might be due to my consistent efforts in her education. All the divorce and legal knowledge I shared from the TV series I watched seemed to have paid off. Even though she's still in high school, I'm amazed at my daughter's insight and initiative. Julia, realizing her plan had been exposed, frantically called her daughter.
What the hell did you blab about? Because of you, my plan is ruined. I'm left with nothing. I finally found a good cash cow.
Julia started arguing with her daughter over the phone. Hearing this, Matt finally realized he had been seduced for his money.
Ha!
He was so stunned by the sudden turn of events that he couldn't speak. It turned out Julia had targeted Matt because she thought he was rich, assuming he was the president of a company. In reality, Matt just worked at his in-laws' company, but he had acted like he was in charge to impress Julia. Matt's usual jovial and boastful nature had backfired, and all I could do was chuckle at the absurdity. Knowing Julia's entire plan and intentions, Matt panicked.
I'm sorry, Lydia. Please forget what I said earlier.
What words are you referring to?
Karen's calm interjection left Matt flustered.
I lied about wanting a divorce. I just said it in the heat of the moment. It was a lie.
Matt, while slouching, is quietly observing my demeanor without saying a word.
Lydia, are you listening?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Even if he was deceived, I couldn't forgive him for cheating with Julia. If Matt had used his judgment, this wouldn't have happened. Both Karen and I couldn't forgive Matt. As we remained silent, struggling for words, Matt said,
But you two can't live without my income, right? A divorce would be tough.
His moment of remorse quickly vanished as he threatened us, saying our life would be hard without his earnings. Matt seemed confident that Karen and I couldn't manage without him. We can manage just fine without you, Matt. We'll go ahead with the divorce as you suggested. And I'll be sure to inform Robert and Emily about this.
No, please don't. I'm begging you, don't tell them.
No matter what you say. What's done is done. For now, I asked him to leave and sighed deeply once I was alone in the hospital room. I wondered how the protagonist in a TV series would handle this. But deep down, I already knew my answer. First, I needed to heal my leg. A few days after that chaotic scene, I was discharged from the hospital. Thanks to rehab, I got quite good at using crutches. Even at home, I used crutches to get around, but I could manage daily life slowly but surely. Even after I was discharged, Matt kept begging me to take back the divorce. I remained silent, and Karen would blame him whenever she saw him. Matt seemed to feel increasingly uncomfortable at home and started living in a hotel. A few days later, Robert and Emily came to visit after hearing about my discharge.
Lydia, it must have been tough. Are you okay? I brought these to help out a bit.
Emily said, bringing pre-cooked frozen meals and showing her concern.
By the way, Matt took the day off yesterday. Is he feeling unwell?
Actually, Matt's been living in a hotel. The truth is. I explained to Robert and Emily the whole sequence of events, from Matt meeting Julia to their affair. So he met my old friend and had an affair, then fell in love for real. While I was in the hospital, they both came to demand a divorce and told me to leave with Karen because they wanted to live in our house.
Is that true? What's he thinking?
There's more to the story. I told them about Julia's ongoing divorce and alimony debts, and how she planned to marry Matt for financial support. Matt's mistake was boasting that he was the company president.
Did he really say that? What a hopeless fool.
But trying to abandon Lydia and Karen is something I can't forgive. We need to talk to him, Robert.
Indeed, he needs a serious wake-up call.
So, a few days later, we called Matt to his parents' house for a talk with me and his parents.
You've been cheating, haven't you?
Matt stayed silent, looking guilty.
Not only that, you tried to kick Lydia and Karen out. What were you thinking?
Abandoning your own wife and child is unacceptable.
Finally, Matt spoke.
No, you don't understand. I was just tricked.
He tried to play the victim, claiming Julia manipulated him into seeking a divorce.
If I had known she was after my money from the start, I never would have done this. It's Lydia's fault for reconnecting with her.
Matt wouldn't admit his mistakes. Instead, he blamed me. Seeing this, Robert's expression darkened.
What? Are you saying it's not your fault? You still cheated. And you lied about being the president of the company? I was planning to have you take over, but I can't trust you now. You're fired.
Robert's anger was palpable as he finally disowned Matt.
Matt, you really let us down.
Meanwhile, Emily seemed exasperated by her son's actions and lack of remorse.
I'm sorry.
No, my decision stands. You should be apologizing to Lydia.
Lydia, I'm really sorry. Please give me another chance.
Seeing Matt disowned by his parents, I felt a pang of pity. If I abandoned him too, he'd be completely alone, and my heart wavered. As I hesitated to respond, Emily spoke to me.
Lydia, don't worry about Matt. Do whatever you feel is best. We're on your and Karen's side.
Emily's words solidified my resolve. Let's get divorced. There's no going back.
Please. Can't you reconsider?
No, I've made up my mind. I'll be expecting alimony and child support.
How did it come to this?
And so we decided to get divorced. A few days later, Julia called.
Hey, my husband found out about everything. Now I have even more money to pay. This is unbelievable.
In the midst of her own divorce proceedings, Julia's husband found out about her affair with Matt, raising her alimony. Not only that, but Julia's husband also demanded alimony from Matt. As a result, Matt lost most of his assets to alimony and child support. The scandal involving Matt and Julia quickly spread through our small town, making it difficult for Julia to stay. She soon moved to a nearby town, but struggled to make a living on her own. Having relied on her husband and affair partners, she found it tough to live on her own income. Meanwhile, Matt started a new life alone and found a job in another town. Having often slacked off and taken advantage of the family business, he now faced a harsh reality. His new jobs didn't cater to his whims, and he kept failing. Matt, struggling with both work and personal life, turned to gambling, becoming increasingly addicted. His gambling addiction became extreme. Despite having to pay alimony and child support, he borrowed money to continue gambling. A while after the divorce, Matt called me.
Sorry. I might not be able to make this month's payment. I don't have enough money,
Matt said in a weak voice. I felt sorry for him, but couldn't find a way to help, struggling to find the right words. I heard that he had also called his parents recently.
Dad, can you lend me some money? Just a little. I'm really in trouble.
Unable to manage his growing debt, Matt sought help from me and his parents. However, not only I, but also his parents refused to help, leaving Matt at a loss. I hoped he would escape from gambling and gradually repay his debts. Hoping there was still some diligence left in Matt, I spent my days occasionally hearing news about him through the grapevine. Karen and I continued to receive support and maintain a good relationship with Matt's parents, even after the divorce. Perhaps his parents felt guilty about Matt's shortcomings. However, their kind nature allowed me to lean on their support and find comfort. Karen continued to excel in her studies and successfully got into the university she aimed for. Thanks to my income and support from Matt's parents, Karen is enjoying a fulfilling college life. With the warm support from me and Matt's parents, Karen seems set to pursue her dream of becoming a researcher.
I never expected you to become so successful. You really are my daughter. I'm so proud of you.
When I was 12 years old, my mother, who had a sick younger sister, vanished without a trace. We had no contact and I didn't even know where she was, but one day, after I became an adult, she suddenly showed up at my workplace. It seems she had accidentally found out that I graduated at the top of my class from medical school. And now, she came back to use me, after abandoning me once. What now, after all this time, on her own terms? The sight of my mother trying to cozy up to me now that I'm well known was revolting, and I even felt nauseated. The reason I wanted to become a doctor was to reduce the number of people suffering from illnesses like my sister. Not to gain my mother's approval. Please go back. You are no longer someone who has nothing to do with me. I firmly declined, and my mother seemed taken aback by my resolute attitude. While I didn't want anything to do with my mother, I was worried about my sister and wondered if there was any way I could examine her. As I looked at my sister, she was silent, but her eyes clearly pleaded for help. Seeing that, I impulsively pulled my sister's wheelchair and dashed into a nearby empty examination room.
Wow, Rachel, it's been so hard.
As soon as we entered the examination room, my sister burst into tears as if cutting loose. I was speechless at the story of the last 14 years she shared. I decided I wouldn't let our mother have her way anymore. What I did next was... My name is Rachel. At 26, as a newcomer to the workforce, I am leading a busy yet happy life. Although I can now say I live a happy life, my childhood was far from happy, filled with hardships. It all began when I was 10 years old. The father, who had been the central figure of the family, passed away due to illness. Until then, our family was just a normal, close-knit family of 4. Surrounded by a kind father and mother, and a sweet younger sister, I lived a life without any want. But everything crumbled suddenly when my father passed away due to illness. The first to go off kilter was my mother. She had always been mentally fragile, with severe mood swings, and sometimes she would lash out at my sister and me when irritated. As children, my sister and I were only shocked by our mother's sudden change, but our father always stopped her when he saw her raising her voice, so we never thought much of it. My mother was somewhat dependent on my father, so as soon as he intervened, she would calm down and cozy up to him. But then, he passed away. My mother's depression was severe. At one point, she couldn't do anything and would shut herself in her room all day, mentally broken down. In that state, she couldn't work properly and quit her part-time job to stay at home. Fortunately, the inheritance and life insurance left by my father were substantial. Moreover, my maternal grandparents, who had already passed away, were wealthy, and my mother had inherited a considerable amount of their estate. So, even though my mother was unemployed, our family didn't face financial troubles. However, my mother's behavior became increasingly strange day by day. She began to dote abnormally on my often ill and frail sister, Kristen. And she became stricter with me.
Mom, I'm hungry.
Annoying. I'm busy taking care of Kristen. Here's some money. Go buy yourself something to eat.
That was how my mother handled it, without cooking, just giving me money. But all she gave me was $2. I could only buy a snack, and I stopped having proper meals at home. Also, my mother used my sister's illness as an excuse to stop attending any of my school events.
I need to be by Kristen's side. I don't have time for your trivial events.
My mother said that and would even skip parent-teacher conferences, not to mention sports days or school performances. The school contacted us several times requesting her presence, but my mother dismissed them, claiming she needed to care for a sick family member. Looking back now, I realize how problematic my mother was. But at that time, she was still my only parent. And I loved my sister too and was worried about her frailty. So, I turned a blind eye to being neglected and convinced myself to endure whatever unreasonable things my mother said. I probably should have asked for help, but my maternal grandparents were both deceased, and my paternal grandmother, though still alive, was elderly and in a care facility. In such circumstances, with no other relatives to turn to, I never thought to rely on anyone else. While I was neglected by our mother, my sister adored me. I loved my dear sister too, and I believe we were what you'd call close sisters. My sister often said, "When I get better, I dream of becoming a hairstylist," as she played with my hair.
Kristen, you're amazing. I can't even do a simple braid.
Don't worry, I'll always do your hair for you.
Though often looking unwell, my sister's eyes sparkled and her complexion looked healthy when she played with my hair, appearing like a healthy girl. As time went by, my mother's treatment towards me escalated for the worse. Previously, she just neglected me, but then she started to verbally abuse me.
You really are an attractive child. Why don't you try to be more like Kristen? I don't need a daughter who isn't cute. Kristen is all I need.
Such words from our mother, denying my existence, hurt me at first, but gradually I got used to them and began to feel worthless. Moreover, I was often kept away from my beloved sister.
Kristen doesn't have much strength, so don't tire her out. What if she gets sick?
Every time my mother caught me in Kristen's room, she'd chase me out. My sister and I wanted to talk but couldn't. Instead, we communicated more with glances, eventually understanding each other's thoughts just by eye contact. When I looked into her eyes feeling relieved she seemed well, she'd make a face that seemed to say, "Thank you," or if she was hungry, I'd sneak her a cookie and she'd be overly delighted. Our secret communication was just between the two of us, strengthening our bond. However, my mother didn't like that we remained close despite her attempts to separate us, and her harassment and verbal abuse got even worse. Perhaps she disliked my curious and independent nature. My mother was the type who needed to feel needed by someone. While my father was alive, she felt fulfilled by devoting herself to him, but after his death, she lost her focus of devotion. To her, my frail sister was the perfect object of her care. In contrast, since I was little, I had been able to manage without relying much on her, and so she was unable to show me affection. Now that I'm an adult, I can analyze this calmly, but back then, I never thought about such things. I just felt lonely, neglected by my mother after losing my father. I kept telling myself that once my sister got better, my mother would start to care for me again. I spent each day desperately convincing myself of this. 2 years had passed since my father's death. On my 12th birthday, something I never imagined happened. When I returned home from school, the house was unusually quiet. Maybe, just maybe, my mother and sister were planning a surprise for my birthday. Upon arriving home, I briefly thought this might be the case. I decided to secretly find them hiding somewhere in the house to surprise them instead. So, I began to search quietly. However, no matter where I looked, I couldn't find my mother and sister. And upon closer inspection, I noticed that clothes and personal items were missing from their rooms. What on earth could this mean? My excitement quickly turned to panic. I searched the house again, but there was no sign of my mother and sister, and checking the calendar, it wasn't my sister's day for a medical appointment. Panicked, I rushed back to school and told my teacher everything as it was. At first, my teacher listened to my story with a look of shock, but his expression gradually hardened. After I finished telling everything, he contacted Child Protective Services. After explaining the situation and consulting with them, I was taken into temporary custody by Child Protective Services. I couldn't quite grasp the situation of my mother and sister suddenly disappearing, and my mind was in total chaos. One thing became clear: it seemed I had been abandoned by my mother. The realization made me feel like the world had gone dark before my eyes. Was my physically weak sister safe? What was my mother thinking when she left me? Various doubts and anxieties swirled around, and I silently cried in my bed. A few days later, I was called by the director of the Child Protective Services facility. Looking frail from anxiety and lack of sleep, he had sad news for me.
Rachel, from today, you'll be living here.
Those words confirmed that my mother had abandoned me. I had somewhat prepared myself during the days she hadn't returned, but the sadness still overwhelmed me and couldn't be stopped.
Why? Why did you leave me, Mom?
I was so sad. I cried loudly and uncontrollably. The director held me in his arms until I stopped crying. Life at the facility was comfortable and without hardships. In some ways, it was even easier since I didn't have to worry about meals like before. However, no matter how much I got used to living there, the loneliness and anxiety never disappeared, and I gradually became mentally exhausted. My interest in various things, which I had before entering the facility, faded, and the dark, quiet nights frightened me so much that I couldn't sleep. The director was very concerned about my increasingly emaciated appearance. He would talk to me and stay by my side to distract me, and even presented quizzes to entertain me. Talking with him was fun and took my mind off things, but when I was alone, I fell into brooding thoughts and spent many sleepless nights. Then one day, a turning point came. The director handed me a piece of paper with a smile.
You have a brilliant mind. You can be anything you want to be. You should see and listen to a variety of things.
What he handed me were the results of an IQ test I had taken earlier, which he had mentioned was just a quiz. Apparently, my IQ was higher than most people, and I was in the top few percent. Seeing the director more excited and happier than me opened my eyes. Because of being neglected and verbally abused by my mother, I had thought I was worthless. But the director praised me. That alone made me incredibly happy. Later on, I met a couple who wanted to become my foster parents. Wanting to take in someone else's child, I wondered if they were up to something. At first, although I didn't say it out loud, I was wary of them. But after several meetings, my wariness faded. They were genuinely good people and treated me like their real parent would. With gratitude, I eventually began to call them mom and dad. Years passed, and by my sophomore year in high school, my foster parents asked if I would become their child, and I joyfully agreed. Thus, we completed the adoption process and officially became a family. My time with my adoptive parents was filled with happiness. However, a few months after we became a family, my adoptive father suddenly fell ill. Fortunately, he was rushed to the hospital and the surgery was successful. But he had to stay in bed for a while, and my adoptive mother often looked worried. Seeing my adoptive parents like this reminded me of when my biological father died from an illness. My father gradually losing his vitality. My mother crying out in sorrow. And my sister, always frail, with a fleeting smile. I wanted to reduce the number of people saddened by illness, even if just by one. With that strong desire, I decided to pursue a career in medicine. I studied hard and was admitted to a prestigious university's medical school. Being naturally good at studying, I was able to enroll as a scholarship student. Becoming a scholarship student was a great relief, as I was worried about financially burdening my adoptive parents. I continued to study diligently at university and graduated as the valedictorian. I then passed the medical licensing exam and started working as a resident at a university hospital. My days were filled with learning and tense situations, as mistakes were not allowed when dealing with patients. Although busy and demanding, I found great fulfillment in my work. One day, while living like that, an astonishing event occurred. While I was working in the back area, a nurse from the reception came over. I thought it was about work, but what she said was completely unexpected. "Someone is here to see you." I had no idea who it could be. Perhaps a patient I had treated before had come for a visit. With that guess, I left the back area, and there they were.
Rachel, it's been a while.
Mom. And Kristen. It was my biological mother and sister, whom I hadn't seen in 14 years. Moreover, my mother was waving at me with joy, and my sister was slumped over in a wheelchair. I was shocked and confused by this sudden encounter. What on earth was going on for her to come see me now of all times? I had a bad feeling about it, and it seemed it wasn't going to be just a brief chat. Quickly assessing the situation, I tried to remain calm and made an apologetic face, saying to them, "Sorry, I'll be free in about 30 minutes. Can you wait in the lobby until then?" I told them this.
Of course, come when you're ready.
My mother said cheerfully and left with my sister. Watching their backs, I felt intense anger towards my mother. After abandoning me, she now reappeared as if nothing had happened, acting all familiar. I had no idea what she was thinking, but I certainly had a bad feeling about it. Working through my mixed feelings, I rushed to meet them during my break. As soon as my mother saw me, her face lit up clearly. Overwhelmed by emotion and indignation, I confronted her. "Why are you here? More importantly, why now, after all this time?" Ignoring my cold gaze, my mother smiled brightly and responded,
I saw you on TV recently. I couldn't believe how accomplished you've become. It shocked me so much that I just had to come.
Indeed, about a year ago, I had discovered a rare medical case and presented it at a major conference with a renowned doctor. Since then, research on that disease had progressed, and recently there had been news that a treatment might be developed based on my findings. My mother had seen an image of me presenting at the conference on the news, and that's why she had come to see me.
Just like my daughter. I was so proud.
While my mother said this with a laugh, my heart grew colder. She had abandoned me unilaterally, and now, seeing my fame, she had turned around, trying to get close to me again, which made me nauseous. Since you left that house, where have you been and what have you been doing all this time? I barely managed to hold back from yelling at her in frustration and asked quietly instead. However, my mother ignored my question and said,
Actually, I have a favor to ask of you.
Despite being annoyed by her usual selfishness, I was more curious about what she could possibly want. Why is Mom coming all the way here? What kind of impossible demand is she going to impose on me this time? I wonder if it's something financial. As I braced myself for her request, it turned out to be unexpectedly simple.
It's nothing difficult. If you ever appear on TV or give lectures, I want you to introduce me as your mother.
What? What do you mean by that? I was baffled by her unexpected request and frowned. According to her, she had started searching for information about me on the internet after seeing me on TV. She had learned that I graduated as the valedictorian, believing that someone so intelligent was bound to become famous. She saw an opportunity to position herself as the mother of a famous doctor. That's why she came to see me. I was confused about where such an idea had come from. There were so many things to question in her story, but the word mother particularly struck me. She had neglected and verbally abused me, and ultimately abandoned me, yet now she planned to act as if she had been a mother to me. Suppressing the anger rising within me again, I spoke plainly to her. I have adoptive parents who took me in and gave me all their love. They have been my true parents. You, who barely took care of me and abandoned me, I cannot see you as my mother. Therefore, I must decline your request. I said this firmly, and my mother's complexion changed.
Don't be insolent. I gave birth to you. You are legitimately my child. A child should simply listen to his or her mother.
Her face, which had been gentle moments ago, contorted into an ugly sneer as she yelled. When I was young, I was frightened by her yelling and had no choice but to obey or apologize, even when it made no sense. But now, I'm an adult. Having received so much love from my adoptive parents, I was no longer afraid of her. I wanted nothing to do with her ever again. With those feelings, I firmly told her off. You are no longer someone who matters to me, so I don't need to listen to you. I thought we were already estranged. Please, just go home. Faced with my firm stance, my mother seemed taken aback. All I wanted was for her to give up and leave me alone. However, my only concern was my sister. Before my mother could take her away, could I possibly give her a medical examination? Turning to my sister, I saw her making eye contact like when we were children. When I looked into her eyes for the first time in years, it seemed like she was silently pleading for help, and I couldn't resist checking on her physical condition. Almost impulsively, I grabbed her wrist to check her pulse.
What are you doing?
My mother screamed at my sudden action, but I didn't care. The wrist of the sister I hadn't touched in years was unbelievably thin. As I stood shocked by its frailty, my sister spoke in a feeble voice strained with effort.
Rachel, I need to talk. I have something to say.
Sensing an urgent situation from her condition, I snatched my sister's wheelchair from my mother and rushed into an unused examination room nearby. Slamming the door shut and locking it, I heard my mother pounding and screaming from the outside.
Stop messing around. Give Kristen back.
She was banging on the door hard enough to break it, but soon security arrived and seemed to take her away, and the room was enveloped in silence.
Wow, Rachel, it's been so hard.
My sister broke down in intense sobs. As I held her, tears streamed down my face as well. After she had calmed down from her crying, I listened to her story from the past 14 years. On the day they disappeared, my sister said our mother suddenly told her they were going out. When she mentioned that I wasn't around, our mother had assured her, "Your sister went ahead, she's waiting for us, it's fine." Of course, that was a lie, but my sister, believing her words at the time, followed her. However, the place they ended up was a strange and far distance from our home. And, obviously, I wasn't there. Realizing she had been lied to by our mother, my sister initially cried a lot from anxiety and loneliness. But each time, she was yelled at by our mother, and because it was so frightening, she gradually stopped crying. Spending her days trying not to provoke our mother, years passed. My sister had been frail as a child but seemed to have gradually grown stronger and was able to spend her days more energetically. Mother did not like this. She enjoyed being treated as the devoted mother nursing a sick daughter by those around her. To maintain this status, she first subjected my sister to psychological pressure to ensure compliance.
She would say things like, "If you don't listen, mommy will disappear, or then no one will take care of you." Kristen, almost every day. There was a lot of yelling too. Gradually, I felt like I couldn't survive without doing what mom said. I felt increasingly cornered.
My sister recounted with a bitter expression. Under such control by our mother, my sister wasn't allowed out of the house, had no contact with anyone, and was kept emaciated by being severely underfed. Furthermore, portraying my sister as sick, our mother did even worse by forcing her to ingest unnecessary amounts of medication to make her ill and call emergency services. At the hospital, she would say, "My daughter is unstable and has overdosed," and to neighbors, she lied, it was an attack of her chronic illness. As this repeated, suspicions arose among the people around her and the hospital, but before the lies were exposed, our mother took my sister and moved to another town like a night escape. My sister explained that for the past few years, she had been caught up in our mother's fabrications, repeated time and again. However, it seemed our mother was no longer satisfied with just being seen as the devoted mother caring for a sick daughter. At that time, she happened to see me on the news. She thought that me being famous must have widened my circle of acquaintances. Therefore, my mother apparently attempted to re-establish the connection with me, and to gain more sympathy by speaking about my sister in front of more people. Due to the pressure from our mother over the years, my sister had been unable to seek help from anyone. But seeing me after so long, she realized if she didn't ask for help now, she might never get another chance. So, she gathered the courage to reach out to me. While recounting her fears from those times, she sometimes trembled and eventually finished talking. I embraced her again. "Thank you for telling me. From here on out, leave it to me." After calming her by stroking her head, I took out my smartphone and called the police. Leaving my sister there for a moment, I went to find our mother, who was likely restrained by security nearby. I found my mother and the security guard in a nearby lounge area, explained the situation to the guard, and asked him to keep her restrained until the police arrived. Then, turning back to my mother. After hearing my sister's story, I felt even more unforgiving towards her and scornfully spat out. "I've heard everything from Kristen and called the police. No one will think of you as a devoted mother anymore." My mother, resigned and sitting on the floor, looked up in shock at my words, then silently hung her head. Glancing at her one last time, I returned to the examination room where my sister was waiting. Later, the police arrived, and after we provided our statements, they took our accounts and said they would conduct a thorough investigation. Following the police interview, I got my sister see an internal medicine physician just to be safe. The examination revealed that she did not suffer from an illness that required a wheelchair, her leg muscles were weak but she could walk without issue, and she was severely malnourished. It turned out the wheelchair was just part of our mother's performance to elicit more sympathy, forcing my sister into it unnecessarily. Indeed, my mother had been up to nothing good. My sister was hospitalized for a few days just to be safe, and after her discharge, it was decided that I would take her in. Even after her discharge, her physical functions remained generally weakened. Slowly and steadily, over a long period of recuperation, her health finally improved to that of an average person. Eventually, the mother, who had been detained by the police, faced trial and was sentenced to prison. I attended the court several times to testify, but my mother continued her selfish testimony. When I took the stand, her delighted declaration, "That's my daughter. She's a doctor," felt almost delusional, thinking we would never see her again, which brought a sense of immense relief, and my sister and I exchanged relieved glances. As her health improved, my sister began to talk again about her dream of becoming a hairdresser, just like before. Her face was clear and she smiled beautifully, making me feel incredibly happy that she could smile again. Now that she was surely okay, I decided to introduce her to my adoptive parents. Even though the meeting was still some time away, her nervous excitement was quite endearing. Amidst all the household upheaval, I successfully completed my residency program. Now working as a full-fledged doctor, I renewed my resolve to become a great physician, not just for my sister and my adoptive parents, but also in memory of my biological father who must be in heaven.
From the very beginning of our marriage, I was tormented by the nasty remarks of my mother-in-law, Jennifer, and my father-in-law, Steve. On top of that, I was continuously harassed for not having children.
Emily is young and beautiful, and unlike you, she got pregnant right away. I'm really jealous of my brother.
These words even came from my unreliable husband, Kenny. Moreover, Jennifer accused me of infertility because of alleged affairs.
My daughter-in-law is cheating, so I caught her on hidden camera.
Such outrageous claims were made, so I devised a plan and gathered all the relatives under the guise of celebrating my nephew's 3rd birthday to play the so-called evidence of my affair that Jennifer mentioned.
Just as I thought.
Words slipped out of Emily, Kenny, and Steve, accompanied by expressions of despair. My name is Mary Smith, 34 years old. I work in the international division of a mid-sized trading company. I live with my husband, Kenny, who is the same age and works for a steel company, and my in-laws. We don't have any children yet. I met my husband at a community mixer I attended at the invitation of a friend. I was in my 4th year of working, just starting to find my job interesting and wasn't really thinking about marriage. But I couldn't say no to a college friend who insisted I come. So, my interest was mostly in the special menus prepared by each venue for the event. Quite literally preferring donuts over flowers. I felt like I was drifting away from a friend who was mingling a lot. But turns out, the guy who's been getting close to that friend was hanging out with Kenny. Apparently, Kenny wasn't too keen on the event either and had been somewhat dragged along. We ended up sticking together as two misfits, but I intended it to be just a one-time thing and deliberately didn't exchange contact information. However, exactly 1 week after the event, on a Friday, I got a call on my cell from an unknown number. At first, I ignored it, but after work, the calls started coming in every 10 minutes. What the heck? Getting annoyed, I was about to block the number, but decided to check who was so persistently calling me.
It was Kenny, whom I had met at the event.
I'm glad. You are Mary, right?
It was good to know who was behind these mysterious calls, but I hadn't given Kenny my number.
I got your number from the friend you came with.
Kenny answered nonchalantly. It turned out that my friend, who hit it off with Kenny's buddy, decided to date him, inspired by their meeting at the event. Meanwhile, Kenny, who had missed the chance to ask for my contact, got my number from his friend after pleading with him. Despite being appalled by my friend who lightly shared my number and Kenny who exploited that, I somehow started dating Kenny, and a year later, he proposed, and we decided to get married. It wasn't a passionate love affair, but I thought I could have a peaceful life with Kenny, who was endearingly laid back. I had no issues with getting married. My parents separated when I started college, but they never officially divorced, saying there was no real benefit to it at this point. Friends and acquaintances asked if I felt lonely, but I never thought much of it because my parents were essentially leading separate lives under the same roof anyway. During college, they paid my tuition, so I would visit my mom and dad's houses alternately during long breaks. But after starting my job, I mostly just updated them on social media due to work commitments. When I told them I was getting married, they said they would attend the wedding if there was one, but when I mentioned we're getting married at the courthouse, but we're not having a ceremony, they later sent me a generous cash gift as a celebration. I felt that was more than enough. However, my in-laws, Jennifer and Steve, seemed displeased with my parents' approach.
Just settling their only daughter's wedding with money. They seem quite thoughtless.
That's for sure. Makes you worry about the future.
They added scornfully.
Money is also a sign of love. It's weird for you, Mom, who has never worked, to say such things. Dad, if you knew the value of earning money, you wouldn't say that either.
Kenny defended me, making me truly glad I chose him. But 4 years into the marriage, things started to turn sour. The initial trigger was my promotion. I had worked diligently in my assigned department since joining the company and decided to take the promotion exam that year.
Mary, you said at your job interview that you wanted to be globally active in the future, right? Why not gain some experience in the international division?
I was thrilled to have my efforts recognized and thought Kenny would share my joy. However, when I told him, Kenny became visibly upset and started yelling.
Well, I see. So, what are you trying to say? That I've made it big, and I'm all high and mighty now, huh?
Taken aback by Kenny's unexpected attitude, I wondered if I had said something to offend him. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that.
See, you getting all defensive like that is proof you're looking down on me, right?
Kenny angrily threw his beer can into the trash and stormed out of the apartment, slamming the door behind him. He didn't come back for a week. He wouldn't read my texts or answer my calls. I even called his office out of desperation, but they said he was out, and I couldn't learn anything except that he was presumably safe. I thought about waiting for him outside his office, but that would have embarrassed Kenny too much. So, I decided to visit his parents' house to talk to them. I expected a scolding, but I had no other options. Despite the sudden visit, I was surprisingly led into the living room.
What do you want now? Came to mock me in person after belittling me, huh?
As soon as I stepped into the living room, Kenny, who had been waiting, lashed out at me. Of course, I immediately said I didn't mean to cause any misunderstanding and apologized. But Kenny was as unreceptive as ever. To make matters worse, his parents sided with him.
Thinking you're all that just because you both work. Don't you know that's not how a wife should act?
That's why we were against marrying someone from such an unreasonable family.
They berated me loudly, insisting that I was to blame for hurting their son's pride. And that's all they would talk about.
Kenny doesn't want to go back to the apartment you two shared. If you don't want a divorce, move out from there and live here with us. We'll set you straight on how to be a proper wife.
I wonder why I didn't just agree to a divorce then and there. But at that time, I still had feelings for Kenny, and having grown up with parents who were essentially estranged, I probably didn't understand what a marriage was supposed to be, reflecting naively on my situation. Soon after, I did as Jennifer had demanded and moved out of the apartment to live with my in-laws. They were overly pleased, and I quickly understood why. Turns out, Jennifer and Steve's older son, Ryan, 3 years Kenny's senior, had been living with them until he moved out a few months before my promotion, saying he wanted to live alone after finding a girlfriend. Jennifer, who had been adoring Ryan, who graduated from a university ranked higher than Kenny's, seems to have been completely shocked by the sudden turn of events. But the problem wasn't just emotional. Ryan's departure meant the loss of financial contributions he had been making to the household. Jennifer and Steve, being proud and ostentatious, loved hosting expensive gatherings with relatives. Of course, Steve's earnings from working under the re-employment program after retirement aren't enough to cover everything, and Ryan's contributions had been their financial lifeline. The truth is, they talked Kenny into moving in together after he came home to vent about me. Kenny, feeling inferior to his accomplished older brother, suddenly relished the attention. When I realized this, it was a moment of clarity, but bad things continued. Soon after, Ryan got married to Emily. Turned out, my new sister-in-law Emily was quite the trickster. She was 6 years his junior, and 2 years younger than Kenny and me. Emily appeared fragile and delicate, arousing a protective instinct in men, including Steve and Kenny, who became noticeably restless and attentive whenever she visited.
Being seduced by his brother's wife. That's because you lack charm. If you'd just show as a grandchild, my husband would settle down as a grandfather.
Jennifer, not amused, started blaming me. Eventually, she even suggested I quit my job to focus on getting pregnant. However, with the in-laws' wasteful spending, the household expenses were skyrocketing, and Kenny's salary alone couldn't cover it. Even when I printed out the household budget software to explain, they wouldn't listen.
It's all because of your poor management, isn't it? Always full of excuses.
They just kept repeating criticisms of me. Then, Emily got pregnant. Suddenly, Jennifer, who had been cool towards Emily, was now in full-on grandbaby fever mode, doting on the newborn Andrew as if she couldn't love him enough. Now, eager to see her grandchild, Jennifer started warmly welcoming Emily's visits, which she had previously avoided.
Ah, so adorable. Living under the same roof with such a grandchild would be bliss.
Exactly. Emily is young and beautiful, and unlike you, she gave them a grandchild right away. I'm truly envious of my brother.
Kenny started throwing these sarcastic comments directly at me.
That's right. Maybe we should just kick out a wife who can have kids and live with Ryan's family instead.
Steve was just as brazen in his remarks. By this time, even I began to think that since I had no children with Kenny, leaving this house and ending the marriage was one option. Then, Emily's second pregnancy came to light. Jennifer's grandbaby fever became even more intense, and her treatment of me grew increasingly harsh.
Isn't it because you're cheating that you can't have kids? Just worried we'll mix up, whether it's Kenny's or your lover's child.
Such absurd accusations started flying out of nowhere. I was so appalled I ignored her. But one evening at dinner, I noticed Jennifer smirking at me. Confused, I asked what was going on.
You were cheating after all. Just as I suspected.
Steve and Kenny asked what she meant.
I caught the affair on hidden camera. Hired a pro, so it's all perfect.
She announced this triumphantly, bursting into loud laughter. Steve and Kenny were momentarily stunned.
If that's true, then it's divorce.
Sure thing. Gotta make sure she gets her alimony paid up proper,
they said, smirking as much as Jennifer. I told Jennifer clearly. Understood. Then I'll take the opportunity at Andrew's upcoming 3rd birthday celebration next week to explain the situation to all the relatives. The celebration, arranged by the flamboyant Jennifer, turned out to be a lavish event at a rented hotel banquet hall. The relatives, half tired of Jennifer's bragging, seemed to enjoy the food and drinks. As the party neared its end, I took the microphone and stood at the podium. The relatives looked on, wondering what was happening. "Excuse me for interrupting your conversation, but I have something brief to report to everyone gathered here today," while the rest of them murmured in confusion. My in-laws and Kenny, thinking I was about to admit fault and discuss divorce, were grinning away just like last time. Ryan's family, who are the guests of honor today, are no different. I signaled to the staff, and a screen was lowered behind me. As the projector was brought in and the lights dimmed, everyone's attention turned to the screen, and a video began to play. The video started with footage of a suspicious-looking hotel street, zooming in on the entrance of one hotel, causing Kenny, Steve, and Emily's faces to pale as expected. But Jennifer, oblivious, looked around, wondering what was about to unfold. In the next moment, as the camera captured a clear image, a collective gasp of what escaped from the relatives. It made sense. The screen unmistakably showed Emily and Steve coming out of the hotel, hugging each other. The room fell silent as the image continued, zooming in on Emily and Steve sharing a prolonged, passionate hug before catching a taxi. Then the scene switched back to the same hotel entrance. But this time it was Kenny, not Steve, walking out hand in hand with Emily. Kenny, Steve, and Emily were frozen, muttering, "I knew it." The room erupted again. I paused to play back, turned the lights back on, and began to speak into the microphone. "The announcement I have to make is straightforward. As you've just seen, my husband Kenny and Steve have been having affairs with Emily, Ryan's wife. The evidence, as Jennifer had requested, is thoroughly documented by the investigative agency." As I held up a thick file of documents, murmurs filled the room again. Waiting for the noise to subside, I revealed that the investigation Jennifer initiated was not to catch Steve, Kenny, and Emily's infidelity, but to find evidence of my supposed cheating and kick me out. Probably fed up with me, Kenny must have filled her with nonsense. I find it odd that she took it seriously. As I said this with a light laugh, the relatives looked at Kenny and Jennifer with disdain. Jennifer, thinking she had proof of my cheating, triumphantly declared victory without checking the contents. But I had no clue about any affair. I then projected a photo on the screen. It was a snapshot taken at the hospital when baby Andrew was born, showing Emily holding Andrew, Ryan smiling beside her, and Kenny and I in the background, having come to celebrate, being disliked by Jennifer. I figured she didn't have a single clear photo of me. So, she sent this snapshot to the investigators, asking to catch her daughter-in-law cheating. Glancing at Jennifer, her dumbfounded expression confirmed my guess. However, the agency mistook Emily, holding the baby, as the wife to be investigated, and they unexpectedly caught Steve and Kenny repeatedly visiting the hotel with her, thinking Ryan was the husband. The agency reported capturing the evidence on camera to Jennifer. She assumed it was proof of my infidelity. While I was initially surprised by Jennifer's sudden claim of having evidence of my affair, a thought quickly struck me. It was the name of the investigative agency on the family card statement Jennifer used. The spendthrift Jennifer had made me get a family credit card for her use when her own credit limit ran out. She often made large purchases without consulting me, so I set up to check the monthly charges through the app. The next day, I took a half-day off to visit the investigative agency I found online to explain the situation, and I formally requested an investigation. Aware of their mistake, they eagerly accepted to make amends, and quickly provided the results. With the screen removed and the lights brightened, Emily, Steve, and Kenny sat there, pale-faced. I approached my husband's great-uncle and aunt, who commanded the highest respect among the relatives, and pleaded, "I'm terribly sorry, but I'd prefer not to discuss what comes next in front of the children, especially Andrew. Could someone please take them to another room?" The great uncle and aunt briskly approached Emily, took Andrew, and handed him over to their own children. Seizing the moment, several women led the other children to another room, leaving only the enraged relatives, a stunned Jennifer and Ryan, and a cowering Steve, Kenny, and Emily. Jennifer then leaped towards Emily, shouting,
"What have you done? Betraying me and Ryan, with my husband and Kenny."
She yelled that and immediately went to grab Emily. Some relatives hurriedly intervened, but Emily was already trembling in fear. Steve and Kenny were just as shaken, but I decided to set off the final fireworks against them. Regrettably, given these circumstances, I will be divorcing Kenny. I apologize for the inconvenience caused to everyone. According to the investigation agency, this inappropriate relationship among these three didn't just start yesterday. There's no fixing this marriage anymore. After reviewing the investigation, I couldn't help but think that Andrew, and possibly the child Emily is carrying now, might be Steve's or maybe Kenny's. I found it too painful to consider anything else. I covered my face with a piece of tissue, staggering slightly as if it might be too much. The remaining women in the room rushed over, patting my back and supporting me.
What shameless people.
Disgusting.
How pitiful.
The women started berating the three loudly. The men also surrounded them with contemptuous looks. Steve and Kenny turned even paler and remained silent, with only Jennifer's ranting and Emily's sobbing filling the room. The fallout from the fireworks I launched spread quickly. Ryan, upon learning of his father and brother's affairs with his wife, was initially in shock, but soon began to seriously question the paternity fraud I hinted at.
"It's got to be a lie from that woman. Andrew and the baby in my womb are undoubtedly your kids,"
Emily pleaded desperately, but once the seed of doubt was sown, it wasn't easily dismissed. Stealing a chance from Emily's reluctance, Ryan had a paternity test and using a kit, and the results were affirmative. Despite this, Emily vehemently denied the allegations of paternity fraud, prompting an infuriated Ryan to contact her parents. Emily's parents, shocked by the news, couldn't just take Ryan's word for it and came to my office seeking an explanation. I found it bothersome but considered it a necessary procedure anyway. The next day, I took off work to meet with Emily's parents, along with Emily and Ryan, at the law firm I had hired. After the lawyer showed them the related documents and the video, Emily's parents were speechless.
"See, I told her. She's been cheating on me with my brother and even my father. Not just Andrew, but the unborn child surely isn't mine either."
It's best if you discuss these matters among yourselves. We're not here to find out who the father of the baby is, but to discuss suing your wife for damages as Kenny's mistress.
The lawyer interjected sharply, surprising Ryan, who was boasting proudly for some reason. "Of course, it's only natural. Why the heck does my hired lawyer have to be on Ryan's side? It just doesn't make sense." But more stunned were Emily and her parents.
"I won't pay any damages. After all, Kenny's affair with me was because you were a charmless wife, too caught up in your work. So, you're to blame,"
Emily retorted to me scornfully. "Is that so? Then we might have to let a third party decide, perhaps a judge." As I said this, Emily's parents went pale. No wonder. Both of Emily's parents are teachers at a prestigious local girls' high school. It seems that at that school, they boast about fostering good wives and mothers. The scandal of Emily, as a daughter of the teachers at a prestigious girls' high school, being involved in a messy affair with her brother-in-law and father-in-law, and facing a lawsuit for damages for adultery, could very well tarnish their reputation. Upon hearing lawsuit, Emily's parents quickly pleaded deeply, pulling Emily down from the sofa to the floor.
"We are terribly sorry. Regarding the alimony, if you could claim it from your end,
I'll make sure to pay the full amount to my daughter right away.
But for me, an apology at this point was irrelevant. No matter who it came from, I nodded to my lawyer and left the room. Later, the lawyer informed me that Ryan, Emily, and her parents continued to cause a scene after I left. The lawyer threatened to call the police unless they left immediately, and they finally left. Afterward, perhaps as hush money, Emily's parents quickly transferred nearly double the damages I had claimed through the lawyer. Regardless of what happened to Ryan and Emily, it didn't concern me anymore, but I learned about the in-laws' downfall from Kenny, who had also be filed for damages and property division. According to Kenny, Ryan demanded a divorce and damages for adultery from Emily. Furthermore, Ryan refused to pay child support for Andrew and stated he would not pay any for the unborn child unless DNA tests proved he was the father, declaring he would file for denial of paternity as soon as the child was born. Despite everything settling down on my end, Emily's parents, terrified, forced her to undergo prenatal testing. Turns out, the baby's father was not Ryan but Kenny, and to make matters worse, Andrew's father was Steve. Upon learning this, Jennifer was devastated to find out her beloved grandson Andrew was actually Steve's child, leading to her mental breakdown. She rapidly aged and is now almost bedridden, with Steve providing constant care. However, Ryan claimed damages from Steve and Kenny for causing the breakdown of his marriage.
If you can't pay the damages, I'm willing to offset it against your inheritance. But in that case, I won't take care of you in your old age. Let Kenny handle everything.
Ryan reportedly told Steve. However, Steve, who had secretly spent most of his retirement funds on luxury items and jewelry to impress Emily, was left with almost nothing. As a result, facing offset with the inheritance, the in-laws, now disowned by Ryan, desperately clung to Kenny, but Kenny himself, facing claims from me and also being pressured by Emily, who was divorced by Ryan, was told to take full responsibility for her and the unborn child, pushing for a reunion with him.
I'm sorry for everything. Please, let's start over. I love you.
He begged me like that, but it was clear that what he wanted wasn't my love, but a wife who would bring money and serve his parents for free. With no lingering feelings for Kenny, I instructed through my lawyer to finalize everything and blocked all contact except for one social media account. After some time, the divorce was finalized. Despite some disputes, the alimony and property division payments were made in 2 installments. My lawyer mentioned that Emily continued to stay in the in-laws' house, pretending to be Kenny's wife, even though they weren't legally married. But the relatives who visited that day spread the word, leading to whispers in the neighborhood about the shameless family, forcing Emily to become a recluse. She neither helped with Jennifer's care nor looked after Andrew or the newborn, resulting in a report from the kindergarten concerned about Andrew's unkempt appearance to child services. Eventually, Emily's parents took custody of the 2 children, stating, "Emily is no longer our daughter or their parent. Never show your face to us again." With nowhere to turn, Emily became completely dependent on Kenny, just like her in-laws. It seems like Kenny's the sole breadwinner now, supporting 4 adults including his mother who needs care. Tough situation. According to a colleague at the same company as Kenny, one relative who worked for an affiliated company spread an exaggerated story, making Kenny the target of ridicule on gossip websites. Despite the tough situation, he couldn't quit his job and continued working under strained conditions. Meanwhile, Ryan seemed to view me as a fellow victim for some reason. However, there's no denying that he, along with Emily and her parents, looked down on me for not being able to have children. Naturally, I ignored him at work. But when rumors spread within our company too, Ryan couldn't bear the whispers and transferred to a subsidiary in the countryside. Later, when everything settled down for me, I was approached for a transfer to an overseas branch. Yeah,
I mean, I always kinda hope to make it big overseas since my interview, but gotta admit, this whole thing took me by surprise. However, my superiors encouraged me, acknowledging the career I had steadily built since joining the company and my language skills developed in my spare time. Moreover, I was growing tired of being the subject of office gossip like Ryan, despite their sympathy. So I boldly accepted the job offer and decided to relocate. Kenny, hearing about my transfer, sent a barrage of cliched reconciliation pleas through the only unblocked social media channel. But I planned to leave it all behind when I moved abroad, including canceling my phone, despite everything that happened. Cutting ties with that family turned out to be a stroke of good fortune. With that in mind, I feel ready to face any challenges ahead. I gotta admit, it may sound blunt, but hey, that's just how I feel. I've been too submissive all this time. From now on, I intend to approach everything with a positive attitude and do my best.
Why are you here? Despite our completely chilled marriage, my husband suggested celebrating my birthday at a fancy restaurant. I suspected he had some ulterior motive, but to my surprise, his affair partner was also waiting at the restaurant.
I wanted to celebrate your birthday too, ma'am. This is a little birthday present from me and your husband.
It was a divorce paper. What a tacky surprise. However, I counted by giving them something that would plummet my husband and his affair partner to rock bottom. Instead, I'll give you both this. It's my final gift to you. Upon seeing it, they would have to show a pitiful appearance to beg for my forgiveness. My name is Anna. Originally, I worked as an administrative assistant at a regular company, but now I'm a stay-at-home wife at the behest of my husband, Sam. Sam and I often cross paths at work since we joined the company at the same time, and gradually became close due to shared interests. He was good at talking and being affectionate, and I fell for him and actively pursued him, leading to dating and marriage. With my fondness for him, I tended to follow his lead from the beginning of our relationship. I thought as long as our relationship was harmonious, it was fine, but because of that, Sam often made strong demands on me. With high evaluations from the company and on the fast track for promotion, Sam insisted that I resign after marriage to become a stay-at-home wife because he wanted to focus on his career. But I love my job right now, and I finally got assigned to a project.
Just because, Anna, no matter how hard you work, you're never going to outdo me in career advancement, right? So, it'd be better for you to settle down at home and support me while you can.
Is that really true? Internally, I still had the desire to continue working, but I convinced myself that maybe Sam was right, and ultimately, I retired. Even after marriage, Sam continued to assert his own beliefs. Hey, I'm thinking of going to my parents' house on the next day off, but what about you, Sam?
You know I hate dealing with that kind of hassle. I'm tired from work, so I want my days off to be my own time. They're your parents, so you should just go by yourself.
After the initial meeting and wedding ceremony, Sam never met my parents again. While I occasionally visited my parents' home to see my father and mother, Sam never accompanied me. I had resigned myself to his detached attitude towards relationships, but I couldn't help but feel saddened by how he disregarded my beloved parents. This kind of married life with Sam passed by for 10 years. Welcome home. I was just about to make your favorite dish. I greeted Sam cheerfully as he returned home from work. However, when he saw my face, he let out an annoyed sigh.
Ugh, I've had enough of that. I'm sick of the charity act. I'm tired, so I don't need dinner tonight. I just came home to sleep, and I have an early day tomorrow, so just leave me alone.
With a cold remark, Sam turned and headed straight to our bedroom, leaving me feeling miserable. Another day, and he didn't even eat. Whether it was due to his busy work schedule or not, lately Sam had been coming home late, so I tried to at least make him comfortable at home by preparing his favorite dishes every day. However, Sam usually ate dinner outside, hardly ever touching the meals I had prepared. Still, I continued to wait for him at home as a stay-at-home wife, making meals for his return. Since when did we become so distant? With tears welling in my eyes, I covered the uneaten meal once again and stored it in the refrigerator. Our marriage, which had initially gone smoothly, began to deteriorate as Sam climbed the corporate ladder and assumed a managerial position, bringing with it more stress, and he began to reject communication with me upon returning home, citing tiredness. Although I continued to try to talk to him, Sam only grew more irritated, and no matter what I did, it seemed to be in vain. I had hoped that time would resolve things, but as the days passed, the gap between us deepened. I reassured myself that his aggressiveness was due to his busy work schedule. All I could do was wait quietly at home and avoid rubbing Sam the wrong way emotionally as much as possible. However, an event occurred that trampled on my feelings. One day, while Sam was taking a bath after returning home, the house phone rang, setting off a chain of events. Hello?
Hello, is this Sam's residence? It seems he forgot his smartphone at the office.
From the voice, it was clear she was a young woman. Well, I'm sorry to bother you. He's currently in the bath, but I'll let him know as soon as he's out.
I see. Then I'll just bring it over, okay? I know where he lives.
No, that's not necessary. I'll have my husband pick it up later, so please don't worry.
I have time, so it's okay. Well then, I'll head over there now.
Pressured by her persistence, I ended up agreeing, and she ended up coming over to deliver Sam's smartphone. Hey, you. Someone from work called saying you forgot your smartphone and she's coming to deliver it. It was a young woman's voice.
Really? Got it.
When I informed Sam, who had just come out of the bath, he visibly became uneasy and started acting suspiciously. About an hour after the phone call, the doorbell rang. Answering it, I heard the voice of the woman from the phone. Please wait, I said as I opened the front door, and there stood a young woman in her early 20s.
Nice to meet you. Are you Sam's wife? Is he around?
She had the appearance that men would like. She peeked into our house with a somewhat clingy tone, wearing a miniskirt and slightly heavy makeup. I had a gut feeling that she emanated a negative vibe.
Oh, Emily, sorry for the trouble.
Pausing right by my side, my husband stood in front of the woman whom he called Emily. They exchanged inconspicuous conversation while she handed him his smartphone. However, the atmosphere between them seemed oddly familiar, and it gave me an uncomfortable feeling.
Sorry for coming so late. See you again, Sam.
With those words, she left. The front door slammed shut. All that remained was the strong scent of the expensive perfume she wore. It seems like you're quite friendly with her.
What's with the sudden interrogation? Emily is just a colleague.
Gee, you sure call each other pretty intimately, don't you? She sounded polite on the phone, but when she came over, she was deliberately calling him Sam in a way that seemed overly familiar to show off to me.
She is just outgoing. Besides, everyone calls each other with intimacy. Not just me.
Outgoing? Ha? Oh, so that's why she knew our home. Even though she's never been invited to her boss's house, she came without hesitation. Quite a sharp memory she has.
What are you trying to say?
My husband finally snapped at my probing behavior. I usually wouldn't interrogate my husband like this. But deep down, I had a vague suspicion that he might have an affair. Although I hadn't investigated the matter, I had a gut feeling that the woman named Emily from earlier was indeed his affair partner, and I became fervent in my pursuit. You always said you were late because of work, but maybe there's another reason behind it. You might think you're hiding it from me, but it's so obvious. The period when he started coming home late due to work and when he started showing a cold attitude towards me coincided. And the only plausible explanation was one: the possibility of infidelity. Why not just admit it?
Tesk, stop bothering me. It's just a fling with her.
Admitting to cheating, huh?
I was just under stress from work, and she invited me out, and I just went along with it. There's nothing physical between us. It doesn't even count as cheating.
My relentless questioning seemed to wear him down, and Sam admitted to the affair, but he insisted there was no physical relationship. From the atmosphere between them, it was clear that they weren't just friends, but I had no evidence or means to pursue it at the moment.
What are you going to do if I admit to cheating? Divorce me. As a stay-at-home wife with a gap in your work history, you can't just leave me and get a job, right? So, you'd be the one in trouble.
Putting himself on a pedestal, Sam cruelly laughed at me and belittled me. He knew that I hadn't worked for the past 10 years as a stay-at-home wife. Even if I wanted to find a job, I might struggle. Realizing this, Sam was convinced that even if he cheated, I wouldn't divorce him.
You, depending on me for support, have no right to act all high and mighty. Just because I talked to a younger girl, you think you can scold me?
I'm done. Fed up with Sam's lack of apology, I ended the conversation.
Huh? Are you jealous of a pretty young girl or something? A stay-at-home hag like you should just obediently follow me.
Sam laughed at me disdainfully, spewing insults, then returned to the living room. Despite trying to ignore it to protect my own feelings, it was clear that Sam was looking down on me and mocking me. There was no longer any trust between us. Even though I used to love him so much, I realized that my feelings were rapidly fading away because of this incident. I won't just take this lying down. I'll definitely make him apologize. I silently swore revenge in my heart. I realized that it was time to use the power Sam didn't know I had. After that, I went about my daily life as usual on the surface. Sam still came home late without any remorse. The only thing I did differently was to stop cooking for Sam. There was a time when Sam came home and asked, "Where's dinner?" And I told him, I'm not going to bother cooking for someone who doesn't know when they'll come home. Upon hearing that, Sam selfishly got angry and said, "I'll never eat your cooking again." Our relationship as a married couple continued to deteriorate. But one day, as my birthday approached, Sam, unusually, approached me.
Hey, I've made a reservation at a restaurant for your birthday.
Of course, my birthday hadn't been celebrated for years. I wondered what was going on, but I didn't pursue it and simply said, "Thank you. I'm looking forward to it." I had no idea what he was up to. However, from my husband's demeanor and attitude, it was clear that he wasn't really intending to celebrate my birthday. Just to be safe, it might be a good idea to prepare various things in advance. I decided to prepare something that would deal a significant blow to Sam and his affair partner, Emily. On the day of my birthday, my husband had indeed made a reservation at a restaurant. It was a high-end restaurant often featured in magazines. We were escorted inside by the staff, and Sam and I headed to our table. However, to my disbelief, there was an unexpected person sitting at the table. "Why are you here?"
Oh, hi. Long time no see. I also wanted to celebrate your birthday, so I asked Sam to take me along.
It was Emily, his affair partner, wearing the same revealing outfit and heavy makeup as when she visited our house before. What is the meaning of this? I interrogated my husband, who was sitting next to her, but Sam remained silent, pretending to be clueless.
Now, please take a seat. Everything will be clear once you see this.
Emily pushed a piece of paper in front of me as she said that. This is
a birthday present from me and Sam.
It was a divorce paper. Upon closer inspection, Sam's signature was already on it.
I'm tired of living with you. I want a divorce.
What a tasteless surprise. Why bother making a restaurant reservation instead of just handing over the divorce paper to me directly? You want to mock me till the end, don't you?
It's just that I wanted you to have a nice meal together before you split. Nothing more.
Emily grinned with a malicious expression, watching my reaction. This tacky situation must have been her idea.
Just a little joke, you see. Were you really expecting me to celebrate your birthday?
I'm not that thrilled about it either. I suspected you were up to something, but I didn't expect such a nonsensical surprise.
Oh, is it sour grapes?
Indeed, I'm the loser here. And you are a boring man who enjoys mocking people and ridiculing them with his mistress. I'll take the divorce paper and submit it. I said that as I took the divorce paper from the table. In return, I have a present for you two. It's my final gift. Make sure to read it. I placed a letter on the table and turned my back on them, heading to leave the restaurant. From behind, I could hear their triumphant yet vulgar laughter. Ignoring the confused waiter as I left without eating, I exited the restaurant. With the divorce paper in hand, I hurried to a certain place. I wanted it to be processed as soon as possible. Fortunately, the district court was nearby. I started walking to submit this divorce paper immediately. I wanted to sever ties with such a man as soon as possible. As I thought, the district court was still open. Now I can finally be free from that man. Thinking so, I heard someone calling my name loudly.
Hey, Anna, wait for me.
Sam noticed me at the entrance of the district court and called out to me. He must have rushed here as his breathing was heavy. Beside him was his affair partner, Emily. Her hair was disheveled, a stark contrast from when I saw her at the restaurant earlier. She must have run to catch up with me, just like Sam did. Oh, what's up? I knew they had hurried to chase after me after seeing that letter, but I pretended to innocently ask.
The divorce was just a joke. The affair was all made up to get your attention. It was a surprise. You see, we were kind of in a rut, weren't we?
What a desperate excuse.
It's true. I just helped with the surprise because the boss asked me to.
Ignoring their desperate excuses, I tried to enter the district court. Their sudden change in attitude was because they had read the letter I handed them. The letter revealed that the president of the company, the most important client of Sam's company, was actually my father. Although Sam knew that my father owned the company, he had never met him since our wedding, and my maiden name was so common that he hadn't realized that the president of their client company was my father. Knowing the truth, Sam must have turned pale, because with my father's influence, it would be effortless to fire both of them working at the same company.
It's not too late to start over now. Please come back. Please, I beg you, this is true.
Sam, in front of the bustling district court, knelt down on the ground without caring about the onlookers. His affair partner, Emily, also knelt down similarly. They both seemed desperate to avoid losing their jobs. Oh, it's too late. Sorry to make you show such a pathetic sight, but I've already submitted the divorce papers.
You were about to enter the district court building just now. Don't lie.
I'm sorry for getting your hopes up, but I actually forgot my bag at the counter and needed to go back for it. Sorry for the misunderstanding, but you and I are complete strangers. See, I showed them my empty hands to indicate that I didn't have my bag. It seemed like they had mistaken me for being at the entrance of the district court, but in fact, I had already submitted the divorce papers at the counter.
What the? Damn it. You'll be the one embarrassed later for divorcing a faithful husband.
That's right. Falling for a simple surprise. Can you take a joke?
Despite their frantic attempt to catch up and prevent me from submitting the divorce papers, they ended up futilely cursing and changing their attitude again. Oh, you're still trying to play innocent, huh? I've already gathered all the evidence to prove your relationship with her.
Evidence.
Yes, you probably thought I'd turn a blind eye to your affair because you thought I'd have trouble living without you after the divorce. Too bad. I'm not the type to be humiliated like that without doing anything about it. I had secretly hired a detective agency to monitor their actions. The investigation confirmed that both Sam and Emily were indeed meeting each other regularly. There were even photos of them entering hotels together in an intimate manner. They couldn't deny their physical relationship anymore. No matter how much you deny the affair, all the evidence is there. I'll be speaking to you through my lawyer from now on, so look forward to it. You'll both be paying hefty compensation. I smiled at the pale-faced pair who had realized the severity of their situation.
No, don't leave me. I just lost my mind for a moment, but you're still the most important to me.
With that, Sam stood up and begged me, tears streaming down his face. Stop it. How pathetic. Saying things you don't mean just because you don't want to lose your job. You can get along with that younger girl as well as you want. Despite trying to shake him off, Sam continued to cry and cling to me without letting go. Just as I was at a loss for what to do, a passing police officer noticed the commotion and approached us. I explained the situation and they restrained Sam.
Og. How did it come to this?
It seemed like Sam was now prostrating himself on the ground, crying, "It's all your own doing. Goodbye." Leaving the situation to the police, I bid farewell to Sam and left the scene. Afterwards, I pursued compensation from them through a lawyer. With all the evidence of their infidelity, they realized they couldn't wriggle out of it and reluctantly agreed to pay compensation. When I told my parents about the divorce and the reasons behind it, they were furious. Since my parents never had a good impression of Sam, they demanded to know what kind of education was being provided at Sam and Emily's company. The executives at the company were taken aback by my father's sternness, and both Sam and Emily pleaded for leniency, promising strict disciplinary action against them. Sam was demoted from his managerial position and transferred to a regional branch, completely derailing his career path. Similarly, Emily was also sent to a remote location, but the circumstances surrounding their transfer had already become a big topic of gossip within the company, and they were viewed with suspicion as an adulterous couple. Eventually, unable to bear the cold atmosphere between them and the company, they both ended up resigning voluntarily. I heard through the grapevine that their lives took a turn for the worse after resigning. At first, it seems like Emily started working night shifts and was supporting Sam. But Sam couldn't bear the blow to his pride from falling from his elite status, so he lost all motivation to work and became a jobless. It seems that Emily couldn't stand arguing with Sam, who had become like that. In the end, Emily left Sam and walked away. Left by Emily, Sam became distrustful of people and, unable to work, now lives on welfare while being a shut-in. I couldn't help feeling a little sorry for his unexpected downfall from his previous self, but ultimately, it was the result of his own actions of disregarding me, his wife, and doing as he pleased. But I also acknowledge my own faults. By yielding to Sam's unilateral demands and enduring our marriage, I inadvertently allowed his arrogant behavior to escalate. Now, I work as an office worker at my father's company. I've become close with a single manager I met there, and we're planning to get married soon. We communicate openly and have a relationship based on mutual respect. It's all thanks to the lessons learned from my failed marriage with Sam. I'm sure I can finally find happiness with a trustworthy partner this time. Seeing him enjoy my cooking every day, saying it's delicious, delicious, I can't help but think so. My fiancé's parent lived on the top floor of an impressive condominium. Welcoming us was his mother, who had raised him as a single-parent family. She was an efficient president and a beautiful middle-aged woman. Feeling nervous in front of such a wonderful woman, he chuckled and said she may be plain, but she could be a good housekeeper as he looked at me. Thanks for showcasing my domestic skills. The conversation picked up, and his mother said,
I'd like to see your family's home.
Of course. I'd be delighted to show her around. Let's have a stay in the countryside. Please relax and take it easy. It sounds like it'll be a fun little trip. My name is May. I'm 28. I moved to the city after high school for college and later got a job at a design company. I still can't get used to the crowded trains after all these years, but I'm enjoying both my job and living on my own. My boyfriend, who I've been dating for a year, is Kevin.
I likes your unpretentious and slightly airheaded side.
He always says, complimenting me. He's also a reliable senior colleague at my work. He is serious and hard at work. Also, he's kind enough to stand up for me against scary bosses. He's all around a great guy. He invited me out for a meal today because he said he has something to talk about. I wonder what it could be. Normally, he comes over to my apartment and wants to eat home-cooked meals, but making a reservation and going out to eat. Could he possibly be proposing? Is it okay to get my hopes up? Or is it still too early? Nervously, we arrived at the restaurant, which had a fancy exterior. Wow, fancy! I couldn't help but exclaim in admiration, and he whispered softly,
It's a full-course meal. Are you okay with this kind of place?
Yeah, I'm not picky. I answered with a smile. Although I felt a bit puzzled by his gaze, which was different from usual. Well-postured staff members brought each dish one by one. Wine was poured into large glasses, and bite-sized dishes were elegantly arranged on equally large plates. They were topped with a mysterious sauce that I could never replicate myself, and they tasted absolutely divine. But still, I feel like he's been staring at me intently since earlier. Is something wrong?
No, it's nothing.
Could he possibly be waiting for the right moment to propose? I'm getting so excited with anticipation before the course is even over. By the time dessert arrives, he smiles and says,
You passed.
What? I wonder what that could mean. And it seems there were cases of failing too.
I've been evaluating you.
What do you mean?
You can cook decently, you're tidy, your table manners are impeccable, You're modest and humble, which is preferable in a potential wife.
He took out a small box and showed me its contents, surprising me.
I want to marry you.
Just as I suspected. As I gleamed with joy, he slid the ring onto my finger.
I want to introduce you to my parent. Would you come to my house and meet them?
There's no reason to refuse. I nodded and gazed dreamily at the sparkling ring. He revealed to me he only has his mother. His parents divorced when he was in elementary school. His mother raised him in a single-parent family. After the divorce, she started her own diet food company, and now it's among the top in online sales. She's now a female CEO with 10 employees under her. Apparently, there are trade secrets that only his mother knows about. I wonder what kind of person she is. I'm looking forward to meeting her. The day came soon enough. Since it's my first time meeting for marriage greetings, I'm really nervous. I mustn't be rude. I chose a more elegant dress than usual. I have to be careful not to trip, especially since I'm naturally clumsy, as he would admit.
Are you nervous by any chance?
He asked me as we walked side by side. Not at all. I lied, not wanting to cause him any worry. Then he said, "Don't you realize?" Realize what?
Your face looks tense, and your walk is awkward. Smile like you always do.
Seeing him smile, I smiled too. I felt the tension release and my whole body relaxed. I must have been tense for quite a while. Sorry, I'm actually nervous, and it's been a while since I've worn heels.
No need to apologize.
I'm clumsy, so I was worried about making a mistake.
It's okay. If you're my fiancé, my mom will like you too.
Being called fiancé made me feel embarrassed and nervous again. But looking into his gentle eyes, I felt calm. He's truly special to me after all. I took a deep breath and tried to steady my breathing. I'll trust him when he says he likes me unpretentious. His family's condominium was on the top floor of an impressive building. A spacious entrance with a large window offering a panoramic view. The rooms were all in white, adorned with a chandelier. It felt like a model home. His mother, Lily, who greeted me, was what you might call a beautiful middle-aged woman. She has an elegant appearance with the aura of female president. Was the height of her styled bangs a symbol of nobility? When she moved, it was as if she carried her own actress spotlight. Incredible, almost too incredible. Her dedication to beauty was thorough. She gestured for me to sit down. As she scrutinized me from head to toe, I couldn't help but feel nervous again.
So, where are your parents from?
They're from Maine.
I thought so. You have a country look.
Well, can you tell?
Well, yes, you look plain.
Lily stared at my face intently. I wondered if I could hide my country look by putting on makeup properly and returned her gaze. Her false eyelashes fluttered.
Kevin, do you like women like her?
Yeah, she may be plain, but she'd make a good housewife.
He said, emphasizing my ability to do housework.
Yeah, she better be a good housewife.
Lily chimed in.
These days, women are expected to work and take care of the household. If you think you can rely on your husband, you're mistaken. Learn from me, who raised child alone while succeeding as the CEO.
I listened attentively while nodding. I respect women who have their own opinions. I believe that spouses should help each other. Everyone has their own thoughts, which is fine.
Do you have any special skills?
I'm good at cooking. I learned it at home.
Well,
I'm conscious of the nutritional balance, and I try to use ingredients without waste, so I put some effort into it.
I see. You're just as I imagined.
Really? That makes me happy.
You've got that cool look about you.
A pool look. Is that a compliment? His face, sitting next to me, wears the same smile as always. Hey, right now.
What's wrong?
Nothing. Maybe I misheard. There's no way she'd say I look poor to someone she met for the first time.
I hate having to restrain myself.
What?
Because I hate it, I worked desperately to become wealthy.
I see. Before I knew it, Lily was holding a large wine glass. She effortlessly downed the bright ruby-colored wine. Is she drunk?
For me, wine is like water.
Oh, really?
It's the president's pastime.
Is that so?
To discuss wine at my level, you're about 30 years too early.
I see.
Yeah, to mature like wine, people need a lot of money, don't they?
Oh, is that so?
What do you think?
I don't quite get what they're talking about. Anyway, let's just ignore the wine talk. Well, my parents taught me to use money wisely.
That's good. Just follow your parents' advice and use your money carefully, little by little. And when the time is right, quit your current job and come work for my company.
I'll think about it.
Just so you know, when I say work for me, I mean it. Don't expect to get paid.
Oh, I see. That's how it is. Well, if it's just helping out and I don't have to quit my job, then it should be fine. Yes, I understand.
That's a good response. When the time comes, I'll teach you the secrets of my business that only I know.
Is that okay? Thank you.
You're so naive and amusing. You must have grown up in a relaxed countryside. I'd like to see your hometown.
Sure, you're welcome to visit.
Sorry.
Please come visit my hometown. If Lily wants it, I definitely want to accommodate. I invited the two to my rural hometown. Since they're going to be FMY Emily, my parents at home will surely welcome them warmly. But for some reason, she declined. Why not?
I didn't mean it that way.
There's no need to hesitate if she said they want to see it. I persist. Please come without saying such things.
No, I mean, the countryside. Isn't it inconvenient?
But you said you wanted to see my hometown.
Yeah, but
we'll entertain you to the fullest. Freshly picked vegetables, fruits. It's delicious and good for your beauty.
But
we have plenty of lobsters, all you can eat.
Well, lobster's all you can eat.
Upon hearing that, Lily gladly agreed. When I called my parents, they were naturally thrilled.
Bringing your fiancé, that's exciting.
My mother was surprised but very pleased.
His mom, Lily, is a female CEO. I must be careful not to be rude.
My father was flustered. I'm also looking forward to it. Please treat them well. I requested for a courteous hospitality from my future husband and my particular mother-in-law the day before departure.
Hey, what's your hometown like?
He asked me. What do you mean, like normal?
I'm not good with countryside, you know.
Really? It was a shock. The fact couldn't be changed.
It must be inconvenient to get around, right? Shopping must be tough, too.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't want to live there.
I couldn't reply. Was he always this kind of person? Being casually belittled about my hometown, I felt a bit hurt. I decided to ask about something that had been bothering me for the past few days. You've been acting different lately.
How so?
Since I visited your house, your attitude seems cold, or rather, there have been more comments that bother me. He let out an exaggerated sigh.
I'm disappointed in you. I just expressed my opinion.
I'm sorry. That wasn't my intention.
If you're going to be my wife, you should understand me, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's why people from the countryside are like,
oh no, I've upset him. I phrased that wrong. Wait, what does being from the countryside have to do with understanding your spouse? Despite feeling uneasy, tomorrow is the departure day. Maybe he's nervous just like I was. That must be it. It's okay, don't worry. I've already taken action. Besides, my parents are very kind, and I'm sure he'll feel so comfortable that he won't want to leave. Let's change the negative image of the countryside. Departure day. I've booked a business class flight, of course, and we're finally heading to my parents' home.
I shouldn't have agreed to go after all. I'd been attracted to lobsters.
Lily keeps muttering to herself. She must be tired from work. Poor thing. If she could see the clear air and vast sky of the countryside, her mood would surely improve. It's a nice place, different from the city.
What?
I think you'll like it, Lily.
Like what? There's only Costco if you want to go shopping anyway, right?
That's true. And it's a 30-minute drive away.
The countryside doesn't have much, unlike the city.
Shall we do a room tour? Both the house and the garden are spacious. It's fun.
No way. Countryside houses are just big, that's all.
That's when he intervened.
Come on, Mom, let's just go see it once.
Well, yes, she'll have to do her best as a daughter-in-law, after all.
Yay, that's right.
Well, if Kevin says so, there's nothing I can do.
It seems her mood has improved thanks to him. But they really do have such a good relationship, it's enviable. Until we reached our destination, they kept making jokes, making me laugh. Then out of nowhere, he turns to me and says,
I'm always in trouble because you're so laid back.
And Lily chimes in with something funny. Isn't it because of the time difference between the countryside and the city? There's no time difference, you know. That's funny.
I know, right?
Lily really knows how to keep the mood light. Later on, he says, Mom, you look like you're struggling with that luggage. I'm carrying heavy stuff too, you know? And Lily adds, yeah, true. But is there a daughter-in-law out there willing to carry the burden of her husband and mother-in-law? She looks puzzled as she says, I wonder where she is. It's truly a puzzling problem. Where can you find a daughter-in-law who can carry so much luggage? We had a good time while having such exchanges. Maybe they're feeling grumpy because of the travel. Let's get you settled in at home quickly. When the plane landed at the airport, a car from my parents' house was waiting for us. The driver opened the door and greeted us with "Welcome back." He seemed curious and asked, "Is he your dad?" I replied, "Yeah, he's our private driver." His surprised expression said it all.
Private driver.
Lily chimed in, "Well, you need a car to get around, right? It's not uncommon in the countryside. Probably your parents have given up their licenses."
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
My parents drive cars and other vehicles, but I don't think I need to correct them. After driving for a while, we saw familiar scenery. I said, "We're here."
Where?
Not yet.
Both of them looked around. At first glance, it looks like a tree-lined street, but we've already passed the entrance gate to the house.
What? Are we already inside the property?
Yes, we'll drive a bit more. The entrance is far and quite a hassle.
Feels like we're in the middle of a forest.
Exactly. Even though the gardener takes care of it every day, it's still a lot to manage.
Well, it's the countryside, isn't it? Nothing unusual.
What's wrong? Their voice is trembling. Is it possibly car sickness? When we stopped at the entrance, Lily's mouth fell open, staring at the building. Maybe she's feeling unwell after all. Lily, are you okay?
Is this really your family home?
Yes, it's newly rebuilt, so it's quite modern. Kevin next to me muttered, "It's huge." It's 990 square meters, but it's not that big since it's a single-story building. It's like a maze, fun to explore.
It must be just big.
At the entrance, as the woman welcomed me back, taking my bags, Kevin asked me, "Who is she?" "That's Becky, the maid."
Maid?
They both scrutinized Becky as she bowed her head. "She's the one who taught me everything, such as cooking, sewing, ballet, horseback riding, and even violin."
Well, if she taught you, it's only natural you'd have good table manners.
Well, it's nothing special. It's just common in the countryside.
Mom, do you really need a maid in the countryside?
Quiet. It's embarrassing. If you're my son, act more respectable.
I see.
Just a country bumpkin. That's what you are. That's why.
Now then, though it might be tiring, let's go on the promised house tour right away. I have nothing to hide, so I want them to see everything. First, my father's proud painting collection. It's said to be worth $50,000. And then the theater room, sauna, and private gym. Oh, is this a study, perhaps? It's locked. Looks like they've added on again. Every time I come back, there's a new room.
Hey, you said this was normal, but isn't it a lie to call this big house normal? Are you rich or something?
He says as we walk down the long corridor, turning it around. "Isn't your house not normal?"
My house is, if anything, richer than normal, right? My mom's the CEO.
What does normal even mean? As I ponder that, I continue down the hallway. The rooms I've led the two into are designed like a resort hotel. "Please stay here tonight."
Stay? No, we're going home. Right, Mom?
"No way. I've prepared the finest shampoo and bath salts for you two."
Sorry, but Mom's itching to get back to the city as soon as possible. Right, Mom?
Well, not bad, I must say.
Lily seemed to approve. Since we're here, might as well have them unwind from their usual stress. Let's also request Becky's specialty, a foot reflexology massage. Then I'll guide them to the living room where my parents are waiting. After the formal greetings, Lily pulled out a long, slender box, saying it's nothing special, but bringing a gift like this is thoughtful of her. Inside, there seems to be an expensive-looking wine.
Oh, thank you so much. This is wonderful.
I couldn't come empty-handed, right? It's a rare wine, almost wasted on someone who doesn't appreciate its taste.
Hearing that, my mother happily remarks,
I love it too. I even import wines personally.
Importer.
We import and sell wines from overseas wineries to French restaurants and hotels.
Dough, that's good.
My mother happily shares about the wines. It seems that the room they expanded earlier is a wine cellar.
Vol wine.
We have both inventory and collections.
Oh, I see.
Lily, with a trembling voice, impressed, says,
How about joining us for a tasting event next time?
My mother's eyes sparkle as she suggests. Lily, you're in luck. You can discuss wine with my mother.
Oh, yay. If schedules permit, I'd love to.
With my wine-savvy mother, he'll have no shortage of conversation partners. I hope they enjoy discussing to their heart's content. Dad said,
For dinner, we'll have lobster prepared by our maid and red wine.
Lobster and red wine.
Mom, if you drink, you won't be able to leave on time, right? You've always said you don't want to stay in the countryside.
Just eat first and then think about it.
If you're worried about time, I'll send you back by helicopter. It's faster than going by plane since I've built a heliport nearby.
Seriously, helicopter, what's that?
It's a helicopter, my hobby.
Oh no. Lily seemed suddenly dizzy. Kevin held her up and said,
This is definitely not an ordinary family.
Suddenly, Lily's eyes widen. I've decided. She grabs the hands of the surprised parents and says excitedly,
Let's start business.
What?
I'm worried if my company will be accepted in the countryside, but if you have as much, well, not money, but power, then there's nothing to worry about. With my sons around, everything will be fine, right? It's not a bad deal, is it?
She suddenly brightens up. My parents are speechless.
If you can expand the company enough to make it work in the countryside, I'll even consider handing it over to you.
Oh, well.
Is there something bothering you? I see, you're worried about spending your retirement in the countryside like this.
Excuse me.
If you want to live comfortably in the city, I'll support your move. I can even lend you my daughter-in-law occasionally.
She talks fluently in business mode. Beside her, Kevin maintains his sales smile.
By the way, what kind of company is it?
My mother asked Lily, who was excited. As if waiting for it, Lily started explaining about diet foods.
I also sell beauty-related products. Diet products have evolved, haven't they?
Lily's eyes widened at his mother's words.
Didn't you mention earlier that your job was in wine sales?
I've only recently started with wine.
Wow, you're doing so well in various fields. That's amazing.
Oh, not really.
We're counting on your efforts.
Lily tried to take my mother's hand, but my father gently intervened.
Let's talk about this another time, slowly. Forget about work today.
Until dinner was ready, they decided to relax in the room. Lily's murmuring, "If it's like this, I'd love to come stay again," was heard. If negative feelings about the countryside have diminished, there couldn't be anything happier. When the table setting was done, Becky, the maid, called us over.
Come with me.
We headed to the guest room. I wondered if they had come to call me because dinner was ready, but I was instructed to wait in front of the door. "Excuse me," she said, and only she entered.
Oh, it's you, the maid, right? Did you come for the foot massage?
Yes, that's right.
Please give me a massage.
What am I supposed to do here? I could hear the conversation inside the room. It was Becky who spoke up.
I have something to say. Could you consider this marriage never happened?
What?
Hey, what's this maid trying to say?
He interjected with a half smile.
Be quiet.
What?
Watch your mouth.
What's going on?
How did she say that? I couldn't even utter a word due to my astonishment.
Seems like you know the secrets of great business.
What are you trying to say?
Besides, you guys seem to have a lot of intimate partners.
Hey, hold on. Did you hire a detective or something? That's our privacy.
Don't act so defiantly. Premarital background checks are quite common.
What's going on here? Is this for real? I couldn't help but listen nervously to the conversation through the door.
What do you want?
Sorry.
Fine. Stop being a maid in this countryside and work under me. Ouch.
You have a pool liver.
It seems like she's in the middle of a reflexology massage.
I'll pass.
Why not? We're counting on someone like you who's seen the business of this family. You get it, right? Also, the pay will be good.
Your company is already finished.
Excuse me.
The secrets of business, was it? I guess knockoff products must sell well.
Why would you say that? Ouch. Stop pushing so hard.
Engaging in such fraudulent business practices will eventually ruin you.
Are you going to ignore accusations of plagiarism and fraud? What's wrong with making smart money?
Smart? Isn't it just cunning, which is a mistake?
No, ouch.
Liars tend to feel pain at this pressure point.
What?
I held my breath. My blood ran cold. It wasn't just the conversation's content. I knew her reflexology massage was excruciatingly painful.
Ow, stop it, please.
Upon hearing Lily's scream, I couldn't bear it any longer and burst into the room. Becky. Kevin was surprised by my sudden appearance, but quickly rushed over to me.
Listen to me. This woman is trying to set up my mom. If things continue like this, our marriage will be ruined.
He pleaded with tears in his eyes.
Soon, the company will be mine. Even if you're slow, you understand, right? Protecting my mom means protecting our future. Your parents will rely on me and my mom if they come to the city they've always admired. So you should step in and handle things smoothly, right?
Despite his rapid-fire speech that made me hesitate, there's something I need to make clear. My parents, you see, handed over the company they ran in New York to my brother and moved to the countryside to relax.
What?
So there's no longing for the city on their end.
Hey, weren't you supposed to be a big shot in the countryside?
Why do you have such prejudice and preconceptions about rural areas? I just can't understand you anymore. Is it true that you have another intimate woman? Do you really love me? His voice grew rough, as if the question had struck a nerve.
Shut up. I never thought you were this kind of woman.
Instead of answering whether he loved me, I was met with harsh words. I was stunned. I couldn't speak from the shock.
Stop it.
Becky said.
Stay out of this.
He suddenly changed.
And who do you think you are?
Becky didn't back down.
What? I'm the guest, aren't I?
No, you're not.
I retorted firmly to his astonishment.
You're a con artist who looks down on people and deceives them.
Did you hear that? She's calling us con artists. Isn't that awful, addressing your future husband like that?
He stared at me.
Yes, it's awful.
Lily exclaimed. Hearing that, I replied, yes, indeed, unacceptable.
See, this maid should be fired.
No, this marriage is unacceptable.
How come?
Really?
Didn't you hear? Absolutely not.
No way.
I requested the background check. I asked Becky to arrange it with the agency.
Why? Couldn't you trust me?
He asked in a trembling voice. I've been suspicious ever since you invited me to dinner, wondering if choosing you was really okay.
Since way back.
Yeah.
Why? I said you passed, didn't I?
I chuckled at his desperation. You've been failing since way back.
Sorry.
Hey, what are you saying? Lily interjected. Why are you such arrogant people? Aren't you embarrassed?
Well.
Seems like she's at a loss for words.
What a big mouth this chick is.
What are you saying to Mom? Take it back.
Even though I was being yelled at, I felt surprisingly calm. Not scared at all. In fact, I felt nothing but disdain for this woman. First, take back what you said to me about being a poor-looking maid, all of it.
You deceived me. So this is your true nature, wearing a mask of innocence.
That's my line. Ever since meeting Lily, you've suddenly become so rough with me. Did you gain confidence because you found an ally?
Don't get cocky.
I calmly stared at him, his face flushed with anger. I'm disappointed in you, making such a big deal out of city versus countryside.
A plain woman like you, I could have you kicked out of the company, so be prepared, okay?
You don't even have the authority, yet you're trying to act all high and mighty. Aren't you embarrassed? The two of them glared at me with heavy breaths. I am really disgusted.
I'm leaving. If I stay in this countryside any longer, I'll turn into a hick, no more.
Lily grabbed her things and her jacket, hurling insults like a child. My parents rushed over upon hearing this.
What's wrong?
Nothing at all.
If you are leaving, please take this with you.
And she handed over a paper bag.
Oh, lobster, Did you wrap it up for me?
No, it's wine that you brought.
What?
My mother replied apologetically.
This wine was stored improperly, and it's in terrible condition. We don't want something like this in the house, so please take it back.
You're telling me to take back what I gave you.
Actually, it's surprising you brought such worthless wine.
What?
Your value is just like that wine.
My mother's poorly timed joke left them both with strained smiles, but they didn't bother to smooth things over. With that final blow, the two of them left, unable to say anything in return, looking frustrated. They didn't listen to any attempts to stop them. It seemed like they were just trying to escape. However, it's a 3-hour walk from here to the station, and the bus comes only every 2 hours. I wish I had called the taxi for them, but it's irrelevant now, and they can do as they please. My parents were puzzled as to why they suddenly left. I'll explain it slowly after showing them the background investigation report. For now, let's just enjoy the lobsters. Afterward, of course, I returned the ring and we pretended like there was never any talk of engagement. Although my parents didn't ask further, I'm sure they understand everything. However, I feel sorry for what I did to Becky, who had prepared so much.
Next time, bring your partner sooner, and I'll help you assess them.
She gave me such reassuring words, so I won't hesitate to do that. By the way, conducting a background check on a potential spouse was something my parents had told me repeatedly since I was a student. No matter how much you love them, always do it for your future, to avoid getting hurt. At the time, I didn't understand, but now I'm grateful. If we had gotten married back then, it would have been a marriage full of regrets. My parents, who have been doing business in the city while being seasoned, are very calm now. They should have seen through Lily's shallowness. It's about doing your job properly. After a while, I received an apology from Kevin.
You're the only one for me. My mom is an honest person.
He clung to me with such remarks, but it made no sense. What was good about this person again? Maybe Lily told you to say that?
No.
Because she's rich and seems useful, so hold on to her as a connection?
Hey, how did you know?
It's easy to understand the shallow thoughts of people like you. I didn't think he was such a jerk. It made me realize how blind I was. A mama's boy trapped in his own arrogance and prejudice. Twice the trouble when paired with his mom. He's the worst choice for a husband. Unless he realizes and changes, any woman he dates will be unfit from the moment they meet. Do your best, and please don't contact me again. I said, then blocked his calls. When I explained the situation to my company, I got transferred to another department on a different floor, which I had been hoping for. I won't have to worry about running into him anymore. Right? The next department doesn't have any strict old ladies, so I'll stop dressing so plainly and start being stylish. I actually like fancy clothes and makeup. By the way, his reputation at work has taken a nosedive. I haven't told anyone about the situation at my home. He's the one who exposed himself.
Even though she looks poor, her family is rich. I thought I found a good housekeeper, but oh well.
Talking so loudly like that, it's no wonder his reputation is taking a hit. He won't find a marriage partner in this company. taking over a failing company from his mother doesn't make much sense now. While city apartments might be nice, everyone has their own comfort and values, so criticizing or denying others' choices is wrong. What's normal anyway? It's not right to impose your idea of normalcy on others. I love my one-room apartment where I live now. It's my own little castle. Who can decide on superiority or inferiority, or pass or fail? Everyone is different, and that's okay. We all learned that when we were little, right? We have our rules, they have theirs.